Hello, teacher. I see you again on the chapter 8, One Love. Thank you for listening.
One Love. Bob and the band recorded a second album in London in 1978.
Bob and the Hand recorded the second album in London in 1978.
When people heard the album,
Then people heard the album, Kaya.
some said that Bob's music was going soft.
Some say that Bob's musical was going soft.
But for most fans,
But the most
the
fans,
songs about love showed a different side of Bob's music.
the song about love showed a different side of Bob music.
While Bob was recording these albums in London and finding new fans around the world, Jamaica's political problems continued to grow.
While Bob was recording this album in London and defending new fans around the world, Jamaica's political problems continued to grow.
Since the Smile Jamaica concert,
Since the Smile Jamaica concert,
the violence between the two political parties had become worse than ever.
The violence between the two political parties had become worse than ever.
Every day, there was gun crime between supporters of the two parties on the streets of Kingston.
Every day, there was gun crime by the supporters of the two political parties of the street of Kingston.
Normal life had become impossible.
Normal life had become impossible.
By 1978, the leaders of both political parties knew that the country could not continue in this way.
By 1978, the leaders of both political parties knew that the country could not continue in this way.
They were ready to discuss peace.
They were ready to discuss peace.
But after so long,
could
they stop the violence now?
Could they stop the violence now?
They knew that the people of Jamaica would listen to Bob Marley.
They knew that the people of Jamaica would listen to Bob Marley.
So they each sent someone to London to ask him to return.
So they each sent some to the London to ask him to return.
If Bob would play another concert.
If Bob would play another concert.
A peace concert to bring the country together.
A peace concert to bring the country together.
Perhaps it would bring an end to the violence.
Perhaps it would bring an end to the violence.
Knowing how important this concert was,
Bob
said yes.
Bob said yes.
It was called the One Love Peace Concert.
It was called the One Love Peace Concert.
When Bob returned to Jamaica, thousands were waiting for him at the airport.
Thousands were waiting for him on the airport.
Tens of thousands more came to see the concert.
Tens of thousands more come to see the concert.
Old friend Peter Tosh agreed to join the band on stage too.
Old friend Peter Tosh agreed to join in the band on stage too.
Many people remember that night as much more than just a concert.
Many people remember that night as much more than just a concert.
There was a real feeling of happiness as everyone came together.
There was a real feeling of happiness is everyone come together.
Supporters of the PNP and the JLP stood side by side in the crowd. The most famous
No important this concept of there was real Zimbabwe.
moment.
There was real feeling happiness of everyone together, supported on PNP and GLP outside beside the crowd.
Of the evening was one that Bob had not planned. He called for Michael Manley, the leader of the PNP, and Edward Seeger, the leader of the JLP, to join him on stage.
The most famous moment of the evening was indeed that leader on the PNP and Edward Seeger and the leader of the GLP to join him on the stage.
With the music still playing, Bob joined the two men's hands in the air.
With the music still playing, but joining two men's hand into the air.
Of course,
Of course,
Jamaica's political problems did not end that night,
Jamaica political problem one did not end that
but the
night,
message was clear to everybody there.
but the message was clear to everyone there.
Sometimes music could even bring enemies together in peace.
Something music called even bring the enemies together in Paris.
Bob started living back at Hope Road, and more people visited him there.
Bob started living back onto the Hope Road, and more people visited him there.
Long lines of people stood and waited to see him.
Long lines of people stood and waiting to see
Many of them
him.
wanted help and money, and Bob was generous to them all.
Many of the wanted
Outside
help and the
Jamaica,
money, or one was generous to them all.
Bob had become a huge international star.
Outside Jamaica, Bob had become a huge international star.
When the band toured Europe,
When the hand toured
they
in
played
Europe
to huge crowds.
and played to huge crowds.
But Bob had begun to worry that most of the people at these concerts were white.
But Bob has begun to worry that most of the people of this concert were white.
He wanted to reach black fans outside of Jamaica.
He wanted to reach black fans outside of Jamaica.
As usual, Africa was never far from his thoughts.
Africa was never far from this terror.
The band recorded the next album, Survival, back in Kingston.
The band recording the album Survival back into the Kingston.
When it came out in 1979,
When it came out in the 1979,
people saw that Bob's songs had become more political again.
people said that Bob's song had become more political again.
In one of the songs, Zimbabwe,
In the one of these songs, Zimbabwe,
he sang about African politics.
she sang about African
At that
politics.
time in southern Africa,
And the time of the South
black
Africa,
Africans were fighting to free their country.
black Africans were fighting to the free other country, Zimbabwe,
From years of British rule.
from years of British rule.
These fighters took hope from the words of Bob's song and its promise to fight for our rights.
Fighting the road, the fighting took hope to the world Bob's songs and this promise to fight to all right.
The next year, Bob played a gig in Africa for the first time.
The next year, Bob playing again in Africa for the first time.
He was invited to play in the city of Libreville in Gabon.
He was invited to play in the city on Liberal Beach in the Gabon.
He was happy to be playing in Africa at last.
He was happy to be playing in Africa at last.
But this was not a happy trip in other ways.
But this was not a happy trip in other ways.
At first, Bob did not know that they were playing a concert for a political dictator.
At first, Bob did not know that they were playing a concert for a political dictator.
He then discovered that his manager had not told him the truth about how much money the band was earning from the concert.
He was discovered that this manager had not told him the truth about how much money the band was earning from the concert.
Bob's next trip to Africa, later the same
Bob's next trip to Africa,
year, was more successful.
later the same year, was more successful.
British rule was finally over in Zimbabwe.
British rule was finally over in Zimbabwe.
The new government and its leader,
The new government and this leader,
Mugabe,
Robert Mugabe,
invited Bob to play a concert.
invited Bob to play a concert.
Bob was so excited that he did not want to receive any money for the concert
Invited Bob to play a
and
concert.
paid to send all the band's equipment there himself.
Bob was excited that he did not want to receive any money for the concert and paid to the sale of the band's equipment with self.
The date of the concert was August the 18th, 1980. Bob was surprised
A date
by the crowd
of the concert was August the 18th.
that waited for him.
Bob was surprisingly currently
At the
waiting for
front,
him.
there were important politicians from the new government and from around the world.
And the front where there were important politicals from the new government from around the world.
The rest of the people were supporters of the new government.
The rest of the people were supporting of the government.
But many people who supported a different political party were not allowed in.
But many people who supported a different political party, they're not allowed him
These
in.
people waited outside. When they heard the
And the people waiting
music
outside,
start, thousands
they heard the music
of them
start.
tried to push their way inside.
Thousands of them tried to push their way inside.
There were too many people, and it soon became dangerous.
There were too many people and it soon became dangerous.
Suddenly, the band heard screams from the crowd.
Suddenly the band heard screams from the crowd.
The police had begun to use tear gas to drive the crowds back.
The police had begun to use tear gas to drive the crowds back.
On stage, the musicians' eyes and throats
On stage, the musicians
began to burn.
eyes and throat began to burn.
Rita and the other singers ran from the stage, frightened.
Rita and others singing the round from the stage, frightened.
The other musicians soon followed until only Bob was on the stage.
The other music song followed until only Bob was on the stage.
Finally, he too had to leave.
Finally, he too had to leave.
But when his eyes stopped burning,
But when his eyes stopped
he
burning,
returned to the stage and sang
he returned to stage and sang
Zimbabwe. It was a great moment for him.
It was a great moment for him.
The next evening, he put on another concert for the people who had been unable to see him the night before.
The next evening, they put on another concert of the people who had been unable to see him the night before.
After Zimbabwe, the band toured Europe again. This time,
the band touring Europe again,
breaking all records for crowd numbers.
This time breaking all records for crowd numbers.
More than 1 million fans saw the gigs in 12 European countries.
More than 1 million fans signed the in 12 European countries.
The new album, Uprising, had come out that year, and it
had come of the years, and it was another big
hit.
But was reaching more people than ever with his music.
Bob was reaching more people than ever with his music. Perhaps the most unusual song on Uprising
became the most usual song Uprising was
the last one. When Bob gave him the record, Chris Blackwell asked him for one more song to finish the album.
When Bob gave him the record, Chris Blackwell asked him for the one more song to finish the album.
Bob went away and recorded Redemption Song.
Bob went away to record Redemption Song.
It was different from anything he had ever sung before.
It was different from anything he had ever sung before.
This amazing song was not reggae.
His amazing song was not reggae.
And Bob played it and sang alone.
And Bob playing it and sang alone.
It was the sound of a man looking at the meaning of his own life.
It was the sound of man looking at the meaning of his life.
Although the European tour for Uprising was a big success, Bob still worried about one thing.
Although the European tour, the Uprising was a big success, was still worrying about one thing.
Most of his fans in the US were white.
Most of these fans in the US were white.
He had not reached the African American market.
He had not reached the African American market.
To change this, he agreed to open a concert for the American band The Commodores in New York City.
To change this, he agreed to open a concert for the American band the Commodores in New York City.
His manager thought that this was crazy. Bob Marley and the Wailers were
His manager thought that this was crazy.
bigger stars around the world than the Commodores.
Bob Marley and the Wailers were bigger stars around the world than the
But
Commodores.
Bob wanted to reach new fans in the US.
But Bob wanted to reach new fans in the US.
The concert went fantastically
The concert went fantastically well.
The crowd danced and sang to all of the songs.
The drums danced and sang to all of the songs.
It was clear to Bob now that they could bring African Americans to their music.
It was clear to Bob now that they could bring African American to their music.
After the concert,
After
he
the
was
concert,
excited about the rest of the US tour.
he was excited about the rest on the US tour.
But then something happened that changed everything.
But then something happened that changed everything. Thank you so much, listen for me, teacher, and see you later in the next audio, the next chapter, chapter 9. Don't give up the fight. Thank you so much, and goodbye. Good night. Ciao.